Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Shells and Shadows podcast. I'm so excited to share this episode with you with a friend of mine, Phil Wintch. This episode meant so much to me to be able to record, and I hope you enjoy.
So I've shared many times that when I was 16, my parents sent me to a residential treatment center in St. George, where I had my dark night of the soul. I faced that shadow that I talk about so often here on the podcast, and it truly changed my life. It really did. And so Phil was one of the therapists at the treatment center that I was at, and getting to sit here today and have this conversation with you and be in the position where we're now together sharing ideas and thoughts and reflections that could help other people who might have been in that, who might be in that position now, who are in need of healing, in need of guidance is really special. So
yeah,
I'm excited for this.
Yeah, very cool, man. And I guess I'll just say, like, dude, I'm grateful to be here. Like, ultimately, very grateful that you thought of me. You shot me a text. I'm grateful for the opportunity to just share some thoughts about everything we're going to talk about: youth treatment, shadow, overcoming your, or rather, I should say, integrating your shadow into like a current integrated whole human being. I'm like way passionate about this stuff. I always have been. Love it. I'm excited to get going.
Amazing, man. Let's dive in first and talk about one of the experiences that I had at the treatment center that I was at, and just a theme I've seen in talking with people about how do we help others when pain is something that's so difficult to face, and as human beings we have the natural tendency to push it away, avoid it, and run from it. In an extreme case, when someone can't and doesn't have the tools to face the shadow and face and really take responsibility for their life, how do we help someone who may not want to receive that help, who may not hold that vision or that why of why they want their life to be better, how they could make it better?
Dude, that's such a great question. And I am going to have to apologize because rather than jumping right into things, I often have to think about them. Therapy sessions with me are kind of interesting because there's a lot of long pauses of silence where I'm just like, okay, let me think about your question.
That's welcome here. So
okay, sweet. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it sounds like you're asking, let's say there's a situation where there's someone who is struggling in their life with anything, let's just say from like mild depression all the way to something as severe as like a severe addiction. And maybe there's something in the back of their minds that's saying, listen, like you got to do something about this, but they're extremely resistant to it. And so are you kind of saying, like, if you're in that person's circle, how can you help out? That's kind of what you're saying?
That, but also as someone in your profession who what your job is to help people move through that and create meaningful change in their lives. How do you help someone who doesn't want that? Who or doesn't want to act upon it? They may want it, but it seems so far that they'd rather stay in the current patterns that they're living in. How do you help someone who isn't motivated to actually make change in their life?
Yeah. Again, excellent, man. So the first thing that really comes to mind, just like going off the top of my head, like and we're going to talk fundamentals. The first thing is like, well, maybe two things. Number one, connect. Like make sure that connection is a big piece of what you have, let's say with this person. And that's difficult because, again, if we're considering our audience and we're talking to like people in family situations, the connection, let's just say between parents and children, for example, is going to be full of pain and trauma. So connection's really hard, but that is a big piece of that. If you're with, if you're in a relationship with someone who obviously needs to change but is resistant to the change, doesn't want to change, like you have to connect first.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be able to understand and relate to them, and just build a relationship and a connection with them that has some level of trust, you know. Otherwise, the second piece is not going to matter at all. And the second piece, I would say, would be, and this is not, I don't think this is like anything new. I don't think that anything I shared with you today as a therapist is going to be like anything new and groundbreaking. One of the things I love about therapy and about being a therapist is that you get to take ancient truths, like eternal truths, and share them with people. And particularly when you're working with young people, it's amazing to see ancient truths hit and just like light up their eyes. Like the first time they realize some of these truths about life, like I'm worthy, or I can do this, or, you know, I am empowered. Like that kind of stuff, like, is just a really amazing experience. And okay, whatever. I'm getting a little sidetracked, but I just love that.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the taglines that I use for the podcast on some of my platforms is ancient wisdom for the modern man. And the name Shells and Shadows, that idea of shells, for me, comes from Hasidic Judaism. And, this idea that beneath all of the layers of darkness and pain we may see in our world is the light of God, and that it exists in everything, but it may be in a hidden form.
Yeah.
And shadows is more of modern psychology, right? Jungian psychology. And so, ancient wisdom and bringing it into our modern world. So I like that.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I actually love the name of your podcast, man. Like,
thank you.
It's way cool. So, so the second piece would be, first piece, connect, like do your best to connect. Second piece would be, as hard as it is, like speak the truth as well as you possibly can. So again, that's nothing new or earth shattering. If you want to look at it from a religious context, it's like speak the truth of God. And if you want to look at it from a secular perspective, like I do psychotherapy. So I take a lot of religious concepts and secularize them so that my clients who have kind of a bad relationship with religion can still benefit from the concept. So a concept of speaking God's truth in a secular version would simply be like, be assertive, like actually say what's in your heart and on your mind. Yeah. And assertiveness is, like, I feel like a broken record. I talk about assertiveness all day. I was talking about assertiveness yesterday, like in 3 different sessions, so it's like this balance between being a jerk and being a pushover. It's like right in the middle. Like there's plenty of people who they say what's on their mind, but they're just jerks about it. And they justify it by saying, well, I'm just telling the truth. It's just the truth. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's not going to land with this person who's resistant to change because you're being a jerk, man. Like you're just saying it. Like everything about you is just being mean. And then there's the other side of the spectrum where it's like, oh, if only they would change, if they could just see, but I'm just going to keep it inside myself because I don't want to get into a conflict. I don't want to get into an argument. I don't want to offend them. I don't want to push them away. That's not getting anybody anywhere. So speak the truth directly and assertively. And there is a love and a care in that. Another major theme that I feel like I have that I seek to get out there in the world is balance between different dichotomies, and assertiveness is a representation of that balance. The balance of communication, the balance of telling the truth, between telling it aggressively and in your face and just keeping it to yourself because the truth is going to offend someone. So be assertive with them.
Yeah.
And that's those are just kind of two beginning thoughts. There's whole modalities that therapists can use that I can kind of like share of how people and parents can use, let's say, like with their kids, but those would be just like two concepts off the bat.
Yeah. And I think it's important to share also why I'm asking you this.
Yeah.
And I guess let's just jump into it because I'm sure some of the guys listening are my friends who also went through treatment with me.
Yeah.
So the thing about a residential treatment center is it can be very effective
Yeah.
and helpful.
Yeah.
But you need to want that change. Otherwise, it's going to just hold you in a place. And then when you release back into the world, slip into old habits,
Yeah.
or take your freedom and abuse it in a way.
Yeah.
And again, I've had friends who have passed away since leaving the place where I went and where you worked.
Yeah.
Some are in prison and have just gone down a really dark path, and others are living flourishing lives.
Yeah.
Sober, getting their degrees, really deeply attuned to their spiritual life, have mended relationships with their families. And so when I ask you the question, how do you help someone who doesn't want to be helped? I ask it with a lot of pain, because I do think about those guys who at that time, and I wouldn't have ever said this back then, but at the time were like brothers going through the same struggle. And that was the kind of the feeling, the mindset, we were all in this together.
Yeah.
And they didn't make it. They didn't get to see what life is like when you take it into your own hands and live it in the best possible way. So I don't really have a question here. Maybe we can just talk about that, and you can share your reflections on it, because you got to see it from a very different side, from someone who's actually working with people. And again, you weren't directly my therapist, but I recall very important and influential moments in my time there that you were a big part of. So I'd love to kind of go that direction with you.
Yeah, this concept of not being ready for change, but having change kind of pushed upon you, that's a tough one, man. Like I said, one of the main concepts that I try and touch on in my individual therapy sessions and as I talk to people is balance, you know? And it's tough to find a balance between taking experiences that are kind of pushed on you and choosing to move through them or move into them in a balanced way. You know, I think when that happens to people, they go one of two ways. One way that they go is, well, and I'm happy to say and kind of proud to say this, or rather proud of you for doing this. One of the ways is your way. They take the experience that was pushed upon them. Going into treatment was not your choice. We actually haven't specified that. Maybe I'd like you to specify that a little bit, but as far as I know, it was not your choice. It was a situation that was pushed upon you that
Correct.
You had to deal with.
Yeah.
And in many ways, a very traumatic situation. And that's that is the experience of many youths, like the majority of youths that I've worked with in youth treatment. And I've been working in youth treatment, as I said previously, since 2006. I started out in wilderness therapy and worked there for a year, went to residential ranches, then went back to wilderness therapy as a therapist, and then came to the program that we were at. So I've seen this a lot. Most of the teens that I worked with did not want to be there. And so they'll either go your way, which is where they kind of pick themselves up and they choose to move through it with some courage and integrity and faith, you know, or they go another way, which perhaps there's three ways. They go another way, which is do as little as you have to do and foster bitterness and resentment about it. And when you get out, continue to foster bitterness and resentment. This is almost a universal human story, because everyone has trauma in their lives that is pushed upon them. So you can choose to deal. This is the empowering thing, okay? You choose to deal with your trauma, okay? And not making a choice is a choice. So if you simply allow yourself to do what the default setting is for humankind, which is slip into bitterness and resentment, that's what will happen. And I don't recommend that path. Like, it's not, you've seen, I've seen, it's not a good path, okay? Or you choose to step into faith, courage, and integrity. Faith, again, taking the concept of faith out of the religious context and saying faith in your future, faith in your abilities.
And a higher ideal.
Yes.
A vision to hold to.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm doing that simply for a secular audience. Like, you and I are both men of religious faith. And so that concept obviously applies to religious faith. Faith that God is in charge and God will see to it that things work out, you know? So, and then I suppose a third alternate way is that they will go along with the program and put some effort in, but most of that effort is a facade and a veneer. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of oscillating between choosing courage and faith and moving into your own trauma and choosing bitterness and resentment about your trauma, you know? And perhaps that's a place where a lot of people are, and eventually they make a choice to go one way or the other. But I would say that is often the result of youth treatment, like youth who are put into treatment who don't want to be there. Those are the different ways that it goes. And I mean, I am not telling people don't put your kid in treatment. I'm not telling people, put your kid in treatment, like this is a disaster, put them in treatment. I'm just telling them, let's just say, like, parents that are listening, I'm just telling parents, like, make a conscious decision, check your motive, and get your motive into as clean and positive a place as you possibly can, and make a decision based on that. And the decision that you make will be the right one, you know? And so it's difficult working with clients who don't want to be there. And as you see, not infrequently, it works out to be a life-changing, life-enhancing experience. Many, many, many of the youth that I've worked with over the last 20 years look at their treatment experience and say, yeah, like, it meant something important to me. It was good. I've also talked with many youth many people who've gone through youth treatment who hated their experience and are bitter and resentful about their experience, you know? And I want to step out of judgment towards that and also say, from a very straightforward place, fostering bitterness and resentment is not a good way to live your life. Like it sucks, you know? And so I also want to empathize with those who have been severely traumatized in youth treatment and extend that compassion to them. And also move into what I do with all of my clients who come to me with trauma, move into this question of, what do you want to do with your trauma? Mm-hmm. Do you want to let it continue to foster bitterness and resentment, or do you want to choose to recover from it in a healthy way and actually make it an empowering thing in your life?
Right. It can be the fuel to your inner burning fire.
Absolutely.
That is your drive and your soul and your purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd say for the first 3 months that I was there, I was bitter and resentful and just sliding by. I don't know what shifted in me and why.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to, but it was a glimpse of a vision of a better life.
Yeah.
That I never thought I deserved, really.
Huh.
Or I didn't think was possible, really.
Huh.
The baggage that I had carried
Yeah.
for so long was mine to carry to the grave.
Yeah.
And not that in one grand moment I cut myself free from that and I was all of a sudden like healed and better.
Yeah.
But it was that shift of, I deserve better than this. And yeah, in in a self-centered way, I deserve better than this. And then it turned into, my family deserves better than this. Right. And then so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But it didn't come from outside. Obviously I had therapists and parents, and I didn't have much freedom at the time. So there were consequences to just telling everyone to F off. But no, it did come from inside. And I was fortunate during my time there. I got to be around other guys. Again, I shouted out Drew in particular, who's remained a really good friend of mine. Yeah. And I said this on the podcast with Shireen as well. Yeah. Like, having those people around you, it adds to that fire of yours that pushes you towards a better life. I've also had a lot of beautiful experiences outside of treatment in college, where I've met other guys and girls who have gone through other treatment programs and are now also really living great lives. Yeah. And to connect with them over that. Yeah. It's something that not everyone understands, but hearing someone else share their story with me about how they moved through a similar program and telling me what they're doing now in life, it's the ultimate comeback story. And it's beautiful. It's great meeting people who have like perfect polished lives, and they should be living great lives. But to hear someone who came from nothing and is now building themselves up and have everything. Yeah. It's a wonderful feeling, and I can only empathize with them because I went through that myself. Yeah.
It's so funny you bring that up, man, because listen, I recognize fully the problems in the youth treatment industry, and there are real problems. We don't need to sugarcoat that. But there's also a tremendous amount of good that is done in the industry. And dang it, man, I'm sorry. Like you had mentioned something I was going to touch on. Go back like 30 seconds.
Like the comeback story.
Yeah. Yeah. About you running into other people who have gone through the similar thing. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Sorry.
You're good.
Get a little sidetracked there.
No worries.
The ADHD kicks in. I think of youth treatment, like one of the things that I think is actually really cool about it, that again, like maybe some people don't think this is that cool, but I think it's like really amazing. It is this experience that is kind of like a military experience, where really the only people who really understand it are the people who have been through it, the people who are there. You know, that's the way wilderness has been for me and for the teenagers that I worked with in the past staff. It's a really, really unique group of people who work in and who have gone through wilderness. And it's this experience that actually people can bond over, and they do bond over. It's just this really clear, it is almost like a shared danger, you know, experience, you know, like you've been out in the land, living off the land, living in the rain and the wind and under the sun, and with like animals and bugs, and there's fire and like cactus and stuff, you know. So it's this sense of shared danger and adventure that bonds people together. And I think that's one of the coolest things about it. And of course, residential has kind of a bit of that same vibe, particularly in, well, let's take, for example, the program that you and I were met in. They would go on adventures. We'd go horse riding, we'd go skiing and snowboarding. You know, we'd go on trips, and those experiences that provide an adventure, a sense of danger, really bring people together very strongly, you know, and that's a very powerful thing. Again, I don't mean to downplay or minimize the trauma that anybody experienced being picked up by two huge guys in the middle of the night, which I don't know if that was your experience. I forget.
I actually had the head of the program show up in my living room.
Oh yeah.
So that was fun.
And it was a surprise.
Oh, total surprise.
You did not expect it.
Wake up, like pack your stuff.
In the middle of the night.
It was like 7 a.m.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Still not pleasant.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to laugh or make light of it.
I laugh and make light of it.
I know, but that is like the experience of so many kids.
Right.
And yeah, we would laugh about it a lot in Wilderness. How'd you get here? Well, these two dudes showed up in the middle of the night and said, like, pack your bags. So again, I don't mean to minimize or laugh at that experience or anybody's trauma with that. And I suppose I should also be really clear. Like, I'm kind of on the side of this debate, and there is a debate about it. I'm on the side that is like pro youth treatment, you know, like I worked in youth treatment for 20 years and I feel like it's a net positive. And that's kind of what I boil things down to. Like, there's awful things that happen everywhere. There's good things that happen everywhere in any organization with any individual, you know? And I mean, call me an eternal optimist or somebody wearing rose-colored glasses, but I would say that the youth treatment experience is a net positive for youth. But I'll also add to that, whether it's a net positive or net negative, and I think this is the piece that people really ignore, whether it's a net positive or net negative, depends upon your choice. What are you going to do with it? Is it a net negative to you? Was it a horrible, horribly traumatic, unnecessary, abusive, disgusting experience? Parts of it were. Was it helpful, challenging, constructive, inspiring? Parts of it were. Mm-hmm. Which part are you going to choose to focus on? And so I encourage people to choose to focus on the more positive side, because that's actually more inspiring and more empowering. And it's a hell of a lot more fun, man. Right. Like, it's like, yeah, like, don't let yourself be dragged down. Again, I've already said many times, I don't think that we should sugarcoat or ignore the awful and abusive things that have happened in youth treatment. Obviously, we need to fix them. Mm-hmm. I will say there have been a lot of good programs that had corrected that, like, already, that were destroyed because of the current wave of negativity towards youth treatment. You know? So there's been a lot of good programs that went down because people just say, oh, youth treatment, traumatic, bad, abusive, you know, it's done. And so really good programs that really help to build people up and inspire them and were a net positive for the world have been smashed.
Yeah. So with all that said, I hear you holding, like, there's such a duality to it. I hear you holding all of these positives, but also the negatives. Yeah. And that touches on, like, a guiding principle that I hold to on this podcast. That the greater the light, the greater the shadow, right?
Yes.
There is balance in our world.
Absolutely.
And for a place for an industry and different places that are filled with pain, I'm not speaking because all of these programs are bad. I'm saying because people go there with their pain and show up with their pain to deal with it and move through it. Yeah. With that is an equal opposite force of good, of inspiring moments, of change, that net positive. Yeah. So I think we can hold both at once. I can
Yeah.
look back at it and say I have so many great memories. It was the best time of my life.
Yeah.
There were moments there that I look back, and obviously it's more fun to think about it now than it was to be in it in the moment.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But I look back on some truly like joyful moments.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also look back on moments where I felt like the program I was in was failing me.
Yes.
And wasn't, and,
Yeah.
and you know, my parents were spending thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of dollars on
Yeah.
something that wasn't structured properly. And I saw a lot of the flaws and boundaries crossed by, you know, people who had been working there. And
Absolutely.
that's the shadow of it, right? That's the darkness of it.
Yeah.
So that's a reality too. And both
Yeah.
can be true.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Both can be true.
Yeah. No, I love that you said that. And I'm wondering if, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not, maybe you don't want to elaborate on this a whole lot, but I'm going to ask you, like, could you elaborate on some of the, like, just some of the more difficult kind of on the shadow side of things? What were some of the things, can you elaborate on that at all from your youth treatment experience?
Yeah.
I may, like, I would love to actually debate this with you, because I want that side of the debate to have a voice.
Sure.
And I love to have hard conversations. But I've listened to a lot of that side of the debate. Like, I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I've listened to a lot of people sharing their experiences publicly and privately. We'll take, for example, like how Paris Hilton came out and talked about Provo Canyon School a couple years ago, and how her experience there was very traumatic. So I want, of course, that side of the debate to have a voice, and for their pain to be acknowledged and validated.
Yeah.
And like you said, I want to hold the other side at the same time. And because I honestly don't think you hear that very much.
The positive.
No.
Yeah.
I think mostly what you see in the news on podcasts are youth treatment programs are an abusive nightmare, like destroy them, like wipe them off the face of the earth. And that's just fundamentally untrue. They're extremely helpful. They're I as a staff saw so many inspiring things.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you challenging me there, because again, that's the nature of the podcast. It's to talk about the shadow. I'd say in the news, especially around youth treatment, there is that negativity bias. I, as an individual, have that positivity bias where like, what am I going to do? Ruminate on all the bad times. Like when I think of it, I'm gonna share some of these positives, and I'll get into the negatives. When I think of it, I think of like cliff jumping at Sand Hollow Creek.
Oh yeah.
I think of those moments where we were taken out to get ice cream, which was such a treat in a world where all of
so
our
regulated
freedoms kind of were taken. I think of learning how to make music down in the studio with Trevor. I think of like jumping off the dock into the lake out back, or going on horseback rides and climbing Angel's Landing at Zion National Park, and staying up late, stealing spoons of peanut butter from the kitchen because that was our little area of freedom, and listening to Paul play music for us outside of our door before we went to bed. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is I'll share my experience and like the difficulties that I had with the experience. Obviously, do you want me to focus on more of what I was working through I was there, or just about like the industry and the experience within the industry?
The experience within the industry, and those experiences that you had that were like at the time were just like, this is a nightmare.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of the staff there were great, but a lot should not have been hired to be there. Were negative influences on the students there. People who were not role models to look up to, and often abused their power to assert their dominance over people who were already in a very restrictive setting. And it was frustrating. It was kind of scary to feel that we were in the hands of people who had just taken power and
Yeah.
didn't really deserve it.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's about staff and not therapists in general, but I can get into that as well.
Sure.
I think as someone who wasn't there for drug abuse, failing out of school, problems with the law, I don't think that I should have been in a place where there were other kids who were using heroin, had been arrested, who were assaulting, punching therapists in the face, trying to stab staff members with butter knives.
Yeah.
To me, it didn't. Obviously, my parents had done their research, and in a sense, they were sold on this place.
Yes.
They looked at a couple dozen places, and this is the place that sold them, because it is a business at the end of the day, and you have to pay the bills, and like $10,000 a month for what I was getting.
Yeah.
I felt like it felt very wrong to be taking that money from families who are desperate, right? Put all of their faith into these people that are telling you that they've developed this program that's going to change their kid's life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's falling apart, and there's no structure, and it feels a little bit shady and manipulative.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Personally, I had an experience with a therapist who would ask me inappropriate questions about like sexual questions, not in like a creepy way or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah.
In a shameful way.
Okay.
In a way of kind of painting like sexuality as sinful. It kind of felt pushed from a bit of a religious nature, and I mean, I'm Jewish, and I'd say Jews have a little bit more of a positive, stereotypically positive view of sexuality than like Christians, Catholics, whatever.
Yeah.
And so to have someone kind of push that on me, carried that weight of I carried that weight of shame. That I then worked through in relationships later on and in therapy later on, where I had someone who was, again, in charge of all of my freedoms, in charge of all of my like not all of my freedoms, but externally, when I'd be able to go home.
Right. Yeah.
They would be the say of whether or not I was ready to go home.
Right.
Tell me that this natural, I was a 16-year-old boy, these natural human instincts were a sign that I was wrongfully chasing instant gratification, and that nature, that part of me that is, because we're humans, we're sexual beings, right? That was bad. Yeah. That experience, that's the only experience really in particular with someone very, like high up. That was to me wrong, and to me like a shadow of the program, because this is the person who determines whether or not I get to go back to a normal life. And I had to almost abide by what they were saying in order to get there. And it was not done from an empowering place. It was done from a place of shame, and I recognize that now. Being out in the real world, adult world, and involved in a business myself, setting up the podcast studio, I know what it's like to sell a product to someone and sell a vision to someone. And often it's very well intentioned. Other times it's sales. And I'm sure that there's other parents who feel that, they had something sold to them, and it wasn't what they needed. It wasn't sufficient. So I've actually hardly really unpacked any of that. So I appreciate you asking.
Oh, geez, dude. I'm so grateful that you're willing to step into that a little bit. And so first thing I'd like to say is, again, I want to empathize with you and just extend some compassion for that experience.
Thank you.
And on behalf of my own kind of industry, the self-help therapy industry, apologize for the mistakes that we as therapists make, of which I've made many, and secondly, I would like to acknowledge that has been an experience for many people in youth treatment, parents and youth, and that, there is this weird power dynamic where your therapist kind of controls your life. Your therapist is the one who basically gives you a rating on how you're doing in the program, and whether you're ready to go home or not. So there is a difficult power dynamic that needs to be acknowledged in youth treatment there. Geez, man, that was just like a lot. And where do you begin with that? I mean, as a therapist in that position, I made, as we discussed earlier, I made a lot of mistakes myself in that program. And the way things worked out in it for me, I was bitter about for some time because, as you know, I got let go. I was laid off at the end for being a bad therapist, And again, like, I do want to clarify the whole punch in the face remark. I laughed at because I was the one getting punched in the face. So maybe like, it's okay that I didn't do a super great job because I was being punched in the face. But yeah, I made some serious mistakes, like in that program, and have to take accountability for the things that I did that led to that situation. But how can I circle back around to what your experience was? I guess I just want to say, like, that's a tough experience, and acknowledge it. And then again, like, look what you've done with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you've done amazing things with it, which is what I would encourage anyone listening or any of my clients to do when hard things happen to you. And I'm not talking about just like little hard things, okay? Like, your experience was a serious experience, and there's experiences like that, traumas like that are much much more intense as well. And so it's like
a lot worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to really look back and think when you asked me that question.
Yeah.
It's not something that I really carry much.
Yeah.
But it is real. So, like, let's acknowledge it. But yes, there are probably people out there who do carry it because it was a lot more intense.
Yeah.
And a lot more traumatic.
Yeah. And so again, we have to acknowledge that. And still, whatever the intensity is, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
Are you going to continue? Like, I see, again, a lot of the kind of anti-program movement I see is like, let's take that bitterness and let's start blaming, and let's push it out into the world and tear things down. And I mean, some things should have been torn down. Like, I could speak specifically about like a group of programs called WASP. Like, they were it's been well documented that they were bad, abusive, exploitative programs. And the guy who ran WASP was kind of he kind of made a ton of money and then bounced, and hasn't really, at least publicly, taken accountability for any of it. So, like, situations like the WASP program, absolutely. Like, let's like get rid of that. Situations like the program you and I were in, like, those programs, like, they can be improved, they can be reformed. Mm-hmm. There was lots there that was positive and good and helpful and inspiring. And of course, I've worked with many other programs. I'll give a shout out to my the program I was at before coming to work with you is a program called Star Guides, and I have nothing but good to say about them. like they're a sexual specific wilderness program. They do a lot of good for a lot of people. So yeah, I think that there's plenty of positive to be acknowledged.
Yeah, and I do have a lot of just sympathy for my parents and what they had to do at the time.
Yeah,
and I've spoken a lot.
Yeah.
I've spoken a lot with them about it. They said it's the hardest thing they've ever had to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is send me there, and like some of the intention behind this podcast too stemmed from a conversation with them when I told them that you were coming on.
Yeah,
and they said you should really devote some of this to speak to the parents out there who are in this moment in time considering this option for their children, because for them, they didn't have as much guidance as they would have liked to, right? And they didn't, and they were in a very vulnerable position where they're handing over their child, but they have to do it. It's this feeling that it's something they have to do. So how do you go about it? Do you know if this is going to work or not? And so I think that's been healing for me in particular. Feel like I've come to a place where I think about that decision that they've made. And I feel so much love because I know that they did it out of a place of so much love. And they've expressed that to me, and I understand that now. And there are parents out there who are going to make that decision this year, 2026. Out of that same love. They just may not have the guidance or the tools to make it or make it in the right way.
That's such a hard question, dude, because there's so much that comes to mind. I often think about this and that line from the Lego movie, so quotable. Okay. Right. The Lego movie is so genius. That line of, trust your instincts unless your instincts are terrible, So, but I end up saying that to parents a lot. Like a lot of the parents that I work with, I'll tell them, listen, you're the decision maker. No one knows your family. No one knows your child better than you do. Of course, do your due diligence, all right? Gather as much information as you possibly can about your situation, about perhaps what your child is going through. Read some books on adolescence. Dan Siegel is always a good one, who's got tons of good material on adolescence and adolescent parenting. So gather that information, gather as much information as you can on youth programs. And in the end, after you've gathered information, trust and checked your motive. Okay. I end up telling people a lot, check your motive, ask yourself why. How much of the I'm doing this out of love, really, and I hate to ask this question, it's a tough question, but really, how genuine and authentic is that? How much is your need to be a good parent, need to be seen as a good parent? How much is your need to not be embarrassed by your child? How much is your frustration, anger, and hate involved with your child is involved in that decision? Okay. How much of it is I can't handle this crazy child in my house.
Right.
And I hate what he or she is doing to our family. Hate. I'm going to punish them, okay, by sending them away. Check that. That's very real stuff. And it's often, occasionally covered up by parents saying, we're doing this out of love, okay? So give yourself a genuine check. In your case, having worked with your parents and knowing your parents, I think that they were coming from what I would call mostly clean motive. I say mostly clean because nobody has an entirely clean motive.
True.
Okay. So some of the reason that you're sending your child away is because they're disrupting the family and it's pissing you off.
Right.
And you're no, some of that is going to be I'm punishing my child because I'm pissed at him.
Right.
But how much is that the motive? So check your motive, gather your information, make a decision, okay? And make the decision from a place of mostly clean motives. How do you tell if somebody's motive is mostly clean? You want to answer that, or should I just answer my own question?
I mean, trust your instincts.
Okay, yeah,
right?
yeah. How do you trust your instincts? What are the principles that allow you to look at yourself and say, my motive is clean in this, mostly clean, okay? What are the principles that allow that?
I think if you've laid out every reason why your motive might not be clean.
Absolutely. Translation, accountability. Okay? The shadow, if you acknowledge the shadow, acknowledge that it exists, acknowledge and take accountability for its integration, your motive's mostly clean. Like you can tell that the reason you're doing things is to lift everyone up.
Right. So if your intention can be good,
yeah,
and your action can be good, even if there's part of the decision that's coming from a selfish place, and you've acknowledged that, and you're open about it, and you're not pretending like it's this selfless act of love, and that you have a stake in the game here. You have a personal reason for doing this because this child is disrupting my family, and maybe I haven't been the best parent at times, right? It took me a while to realize that parents are just children who have just aged.
That's
and
a good one.
Whether or not you become,
come on, that's not true.
Well, whether or not you become an adult is whether or not you're able to take responsibility. Because there's plenty of grown-up children running around the world, not taking responsibility, and there's plenty of young people who are, and they're more adult-like than some of them.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm sure a lot of these parents are dumping their kid and aren't taking full responsibility.
Yes,
many are. Right. It's we're holding both. We're holding both here.
Yeah. No, that is a very unfortunate. I'm glad you touched on that. It's a very unfortunate reality of the youth treatment industry. And again, I've worked with parents who were doing that, and I don't think I was very assertive with them, calling them out, but on that. But that goes back to your original idea of how do you actually help someone who doesn't want to be helped? Like, it's not just the youth who need to move through the process in youth treatment. It's often the parents as well. And it's often the parents who don't recognize their insight isn't telling them how much they're contributing to the situation and in what ways. And they're not acknowledging an underlying dynamic that is, and I did see this, and it was unspeakably sad, an underlying dynamic that is, raise my child, I'm done with them. Keep my child for years. Keep my child until they're an adult. Like I legitimately saw that.
Did you see it where I was, or just in general?
Yes, I did. Yes. With specific students who were there that I could name.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake that I made is not acknowledging that dynamic. My mentor, Doc Dan Sanderson, was really good at doing that. And I tried to emulate him a lot, but I dropped the ball on some of those hard dynamics to tell parents, like, this is what you're doing, and at least we need to acknowledge it. And again, like you said, if you acknowledge the shadow, then you're moving into accountability for it. If you're moving into accountability for it, then you can trust your motive is clean. Okay. If you're accountable, your motive is clean. And as a parent, you need to be accountable to your child. And when your child, as you were a clever one, dude, like you were, I remember this when you first arrived. I remember how clever you were. And you were pointing out your parents' flaws left and right. And
I don't even remember that, but if you say so.
oh well, and the flaws of the program.
Interesting.
Yeah, you were very much, and again, like that. Yeah, this is not a call for your own accountability for that. But
please do share, because I don't remember a lot of things from this time.
I just remember I remember overhearing some of your phone conversations, and I think I spoke with your parents occasionally, and I spoke with you occasionally, and you expressed. This again was early on, you expressing nothing but negativity, which was a very common pattern in youth treatment.
Yeah.
The youth shows up and plays the blame game for, as you said, 3 or 4 months.
Right.
And it's like, it was almost a universal, my experience with working with youth was almost universally, they'd show up like first day when I was a staff or first session when I was a therapist. So what brings you here? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. Like, oh, what could I have done?
Right.
And it's like, okay, let's play games then. I guess we're going to play games for 3 or 4 months. Yeah, like it was, it's hard to shift out of that. And parents often need to shift out of that too. Parents need to stop playing the blame game and allow their youth, their children who are actually very astute and intelligent, to call them out on their real crap,
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing for a parent. I'm talking mostly to dads here. It's not a bad thing for a parent to acknowledge and take accountability for their mistakes. And nobody's going to see your mistakes like your kids do. You can cover your mistakes up at the office. You can cover your mistakes up at church. You can cover your mistakes up with your friends. And I actually believe that that's one of the main points of family. Family is to push you to grow into an integrated self and to face your shadow. And these people live with you, so they see your shadow like all the time. That's one of the main points of marriage and family. Like I think those who are promoting marriage and family these days, and historically as well, have largely missed this. When people promote marriage and family, which I do, by the way, and by the way, I really like that last podcast we talked about, your episode with this guy who was following God's breadcrumbs. He was pushing family a lot and promoting it a lot. And I'm like all about that, like everything he said, I would say like 2 thumbs way up. A thing that
shout out Daniel Eisman, Breaking Normal podcast.
Yeah.
Just throw that out there.
That was a great episode. And that dude's spot on. But a piece that is often missed there is the challenging part of marriage and family. You're bringing yourself together with this person that you're going to seal yourself to, that you're going to live to, and you are going to reveal yourself to, and they're going to reveal themselves to you, and you are going to know and be known. Everything. All the parts that you don't like.
Right.
The shadow parts. And so it is somewhat the job of family to hold one another accountable. A healthy family situation, healthy family unit is one where accountability is part of the family culture, and parents can be held accountable like kids can. Yeah.
I have so many thoughts coming up with you. This is a whole new, new area we can explore.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try and be a little strategic here in how I respond.
Sure.
First of all, that period at the beginning of arriving at a treatment center, for me, and I'm sure for other people, this universal like time period of 3-4 months.
Yeah.
I do think that's you going through the stages of grief.
Yeah.
Your old life,
for sure,
and the way that it used to be,
absolutely,
is dead.
Yeah.
And it's in the process of dying.
Yeah.
And it's not yet buried in the ground.
Yeah.
Because you haven't accepted it.
Yeah.
And going through that, obviously, first, it's like denial, like that unshakable feeling of denial that I got, that I remember walking in those doors and being like, this is not real.
Yeah.
There's no way that this is rooted in what I thought was reality, right?
Yeah.
And then you go through anger and then whatever,
One of
acceptance.
the stages of grief, I totally forget, man.
There's something denial, there's anger, there's bargaining.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did plenty of bargaining.
I know. I remember that. No. Again, I wish I could remember specifics.
I grew up in Israel, dude. I learned how to bargain. So
nice. Okay.
No, but plenty of bargaining, plenty of anger, and then acceptance. And again, you are grieving a life that no longer exists.
Yes.
And you're forced to accept that whatever comes now will be new, and you have to be the reason that gets birthed into the world.
It's a tremendous loss.
Yeah, it is. The second thing I'll say about family, I also do believe that in some form or another, we have a soul contract, a binding to the people that we will eventually meet in this world on a spiritual level.
Sure. And
we are here to help each other fulfill whatever missions or spiritual, like in Hebrew, it's tikkun, which means fixing, right? There's some parts of ourselves that we're here to refine in a way. And so whoever we end up marrying and the kids that we have, their souls that come down into the world and are somehow living in this world with us and are in this family unit are all there because we have a duty to one another to help us achieve that spiritual goal of refinement of the soul and in the physical world, right? When you see someone's negative or just shadow traits come out in a family setting, you are there to help them improve on that, to help them take it, face it, and elevate it in the name of the divine. And that's why I think the family exists as well. And so when you take that and you bring it to the lens of treatment, what I come to the story of Abraham, the Parsha, the Torah portion, Lech Lecha, where Abraham is told to leave his father's house. And he must go on a journey. In some ways that I feel like I had to leave my father's house at this time. And I don't think these are just stories that we read. They're representative of the human condition. And Jordan Peterson touches on this a lot, taking like Genesis and the Exodus and other books of the Bible and bringing them into our lives. And so, that separation from the parents, from the father, it's representative of a lot of themes and that exist in our mythology and our religion. And I think that's what I felt, and I'm sure you see that as well. In your own way.
Absolutely, man. I love that. Like hero's journey, leaving the home. So a word or two to youth, okay, who are in this situation. There's part of me that's like, as if it's going to help, dude. Like none of them want to go. Like, come on. But I will counter that. I believe right now that there's actually a substantial demand, particularly of young men, to go on an adventure. Okay, to leave my father's house, to leave my family, and to go through the hero's journey out of the ordinary world into the extraordinary world, and to come back with the elixir. Like, I think there's a huge demand for that. Now, youth treatment kind of forced like put that on people without demand, but that's also part of the hero's journey. The hero gets the first call to adventure and refuses.
Exactly.
And he doesn't go on the adventure until he's compelled to do so. Of course, like classic example, Star Wars, he doesn't go with Ben Kenobi until he comes back to the farm. And poor Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, I forget. Yeah, anyway, there they are, like my own childhood trauma, seeing Owen and Beru, they're like as skeletons. I was like, oh my gosh. But Luke doesn't go on his adventure until he's compelled to do so.
Right.
So, going back to your original question of like, what do you do with people who don't want to change? Well, dude, that's like everybody, and particularly like it's very much, well, I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself now, because I think there is a large part of, let's say, Gen Z who craves that adventure, and then there's a part of Gen Z, perhaps the same part that is just like the alternative, like the other side of that coin, that wants to stay comfortable on the couch, like, binge watching Netflix and playing video games and watching porn, and eating pizza. Like there's very much those two parts, I think, in Gen Z that are struggling. So I'm encouraging all Gen Zers right now to like voluntarily go on the adventure, man. Like, do it. Get out of your father's house. Go do things. Like I shared with you, when I was young, my father sent me to our family's ranch, and that was in many ways, like, shout out to my family, like I don't want to like throw anybody under the bus. That was in many ways traumatic, for me. And yet, my dad was telling me to do it, but I mean, I could have rebelled. I could have pushed back. I could have not gone. I could have demanded to stay, but I chose to go. And I will never, in spite of all the traumatic things that happened, getting kicked by horses, getting yelled at all the time, like spending days in a dust cloud behind a herd of cattle, sweating, my guts out, hiking across mountains, chasing down calves or fixing fences, hurting myself, like breaking bones. I didn't break any bones. My cousin broke a lot of bones. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything. In fact, that is the adventure that got me into youth treatment in the first place. When I was a young man, I looked back at my adolescent experience, essentially living outside. Would wake up in the cabin, have breakfast, run the horses in, saddle up, and go do whatever job we had to do till we'd break for lunch, and we'd go till like 6 p.m., break for dinner, finish up chores till the sun went down, or play cards in the cabin till the sun went down, But it was outdoors all day, every day. And that changed my life. It was a life-altering adventure where I came back with something powerful. And I can't quite exactly explain what it was, but it was something powerful that made me believe in myself and believe that I could do these hard things. Like I stepped into the Crow with these wild horses. Our horse herd was essentially wild because we let them run around on the range. We didn't train them until they were like 3 or 4. So it's like a fully grown horse that's, going insane. And we were pretty old school in our training practices back then. We've kind of reformed now. Any horse lovers out there, we've reformed a little bit since then. But it was terrifying because that horse had this look in its eye like, if you touch me, you'll die. You're going to, like, I will destroy you. And it will, And so, like, facing that wild demon in a small corral taught me that I had guts. And so I took that, and when I was a young man, I thought to myself, how can I give that to other young men? And wilderness therapy came up, and that was the way to do it. And it did. Like, it did give that to other young men.
Yeah. Ask
those wilderness guys, did you learn you had guts? Did you do it? Did you get hardened? They'll say yes, even though they hated it.
Yeah.
They'll say yes. And so I think that there's a substantial part of young people today who actually do want that and want to go on that adventure. And for those who don't, like, the adventure will call, like it called Abraham, and like it called again in our modern retelling of those ancient stories, like it called Luke Skywalker or Harry Potter or Frodo or any of them, like any of those stories. Like, that truth rings true throughout the ages.
Yeah. I love that you've gone down the hero's journey rabbit hole.
Oh,
it's my
Joseph Campbell, man. Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
it is my favorite. Just little bit of wisdom from the past to just sprinkle on to everything.
It's so fun.
I think we've been asking that question, how do you help someone who may not want to be helped themselves? I think that's the answer, at least an answer, right? There could be many, and for different people, right?
Yes.
That is one answer, is to look at your life like the hero's journey, and to be excited and curious about the adventure that you could go on.
Yeah.
Not I have to do all of this work to fix myself.
Yeah.
It's that I could have that ultimate comeback story where I left what's familiar and comfortable. That could mean the way I was living before.
Yeah.
And even though that was a difficult path to follow, I wouldn't have had it any other way, because I went on that journey. I met mentors along the way. I found something within myself that I didn't have before. I slayed the dragon and I came back changed.
Yeah.
And no, that life that I left behind, it's gone now. It really is. And that's that grief. It's also, you know, as a man, as a boy grows into a man, he grieves. He has to grieve that old life of boyhood and leave it behind. And that's it's also in that whole realm of work. Joseph Campbell and Robert Bly also has a bunch of work on that. And so it's really important to note that it can be an adventurous experience, be invigorating, right?
Yeah. Sorry. So just to piggyback off that idea, maybe going back to that original question again, how do you get someone who's in that position to shift out of that? Inspire them with that reality that adventure calls. Adventure calls you. If you ignore the call, it will call again and again and again until you answer it. You know, I'm reminded of that scene from Walter Mitty where he sees I forget what the character's name is, but it's played by Sean Penn. Okay. And he's looking at Walt. Have you seen the Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
No.
Oh, genius film.
It?
Yes, absolutely a must watch.
Okay.
The modern one especially. Come on, who are the actors' names? Sean Penn and the Zoolander. Oh, man,
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Sorry, Ben Stiller. So yeah, like the Ben Stiller one is hilarious and like unbelievably meaningful. And there's this scene where Ben Stiller, Walter Mitty, imagines the other character who's played by Sean Penn looking at him and coaxing him on the adventure in this it's just this extremely inspiring shot that's like, oh, hell yeah. You have to watch it.
Okay, I'll watch it.
It's a great one. And I won't spoil anything more. But inspire people, okay? Inspire people. The challenge with that is that, again, many people will refuse and refuse and refuse and refuse the call. And if your current behaviors are causing a lot of destruction, and again, like this is mostly what I saw in youth treatment. I saw you were uncommon, okay? Like guys like you were there, kind of, but guys like you who kind of disrupted their family, you know, and upset the family dynamic and were pushing back in a rebellious way and had, you know, engaged in some of the behaviors that you'd engaged in were less common. More common was dudes. And again, I've worked mostly with young men. I love working with young women. Like it's fun, but my bread and butter is kind of like working with young men, you know? And so I'm going to refer mostly to young men, although this message is for young women as well. Most of the guys that I worked with had caused like a lot of serious disruption in their families, in trouble with the law, fights at school, using drugs, really irresponsible and promiscuous sexual behavior. I already told you that a lot of the work I did was in a sexual specific program. So the sexual behaviors that there was a lot of sexual trauma, perpetrated by the teen boys that I was working with and perpetrated onto them, you know. So it was
heavy.
It was heavy stuff.
That's a lot of shadow work.
Yeah, it was really heavy stuff. But their behaviors, for example, and I'll keep it PG, but often, very frequently, my clients at that program had gone online and connected with adult predators because they were seeking something. They were seeking something for themselves. And so they had disrupted their families that way, is that their parents had caught them with adult predators. Their parents had found out about their online activities. you know, and so those were very difficult situations, you know. So when often, or I should say the majority of youth that I worked with in those settings had disrupted their family situation to a tremendous degree. Like the sexual behaviors they were engaging in online were extremely dangerous, you know? And so it's like, you know, at that point, yeah, the adventure's going to take you, man. Like your parent, like I would tell parents, any parent in that situation, like there are some situations where it's like, yes, like your child needs to be in, like needs to have their entire life totally disrupted in order for this to change, you know? Yeah. Like it's not going to, outpatient therapy is not going to do it.
Like it has, and it's not an adventure that you would choose at that point. It's
No.
one that, I mean, you can take this in any way you want. It doesn't have to be a religious belief, but I believe that that's God saying you may have not answered the call, so I'm going to answer it for you.
Yeah.
A moment that stands out to me is when I was living in Israel and I was just really in the thick of everything I'd been going through.
Yeah.
You know, seeing a psychiatrist that was throwing multiple different kinds of meds at me and really just not an okay time for me. Yeah. And I had a therapist that said to me, and I remember this very distinctly, he said, which means make a decision, otherwise you will be decided for.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that, because eventually my life was decided for me.
Yeah.
That brings me to another practical step that someone like a youth can take or parents can take and offer their youth. And it's something that helped me during my time there. And I think I want to share this because it's very specific to the program I was at, where I had very little freedoms. I was sent there not by choice. And there's that mindset you can adopt of, well, my freedom is gone. Yeah. There's nothing that I control. Yeah. My dad gave me and sent me this book, Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah.
By Dr. Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
And I read it for the first time while I was there. Yeah. And for anyone who hasn't read it, it's about a man's experience in the Auschwitz concentration camp. Yeah. He survived through the Holocaust, and everything was taken from him. His life's work, his wife and unborn child, and all of the family he had. Yeah. And he had two choices.
Pause. I have to emphasize that part of the book where he says, even the hair on our bodies, they were shaved, like completely shaved. And he talks about that moment being like, I have nothing. I don't have the hair on my body. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry.
No, thanks for adding that. A quote in that book. Yeah. And I'm going to quote it a little indirectly here, is that he says that everything can be taken from a man except for the last of human freedoms. Yeah. The ability to choose one's own way in any given set of circumstances. Yeah. And that's the message, another message in my belief, for troubled youth and for parents that are trying to help them, even if it has to get to the point where you are sent away. Yeah. To realize that when everything has been taken from you, right? Obviously, not to compare this to the Holocaust, but the theme of getting sent somewhere against your own will and having some freedom stripped from you, that core idea remains in a very, very, very different way.
Yeah. I mean, I had youth compare their experience to me in session to the Holocaust frequently.
Really?
It happened all the time. They'd be like, this is like a Nazi concentration camp. And, you know, I'm like an inmate. I'm like one of the Jews. I'm in a concentration camp. Like I heard that a lot.
That's interesting.
And I'm like, yeah, but Viktor Frankl wasn't like sneaking out and like breaking into like, you know, local electronics store.
Local supermarkets.
Yeah, dude. You know,
oh man,
Frankl wasn't like, you know, snorting meth on the street corner, man. You know.
Yeah.
And you were, so.
Yeah. But that quote, it stuck with me because I started to look for the things that were in my like circle of control.
Yes.
And it was what am I doing the second I wake up every morning? right? What do I do with that time before I have to enter this regimented program? How am I using that time? What is my attitude? What is my point of view on everything going on around me? No one can take that from me.
Yeah.
No one can take my attitude and the way that I frame my circumstances from me. That is the last of human freedoms.
Yes.
And the second more famous quote from that book is, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow," quoting Nietzsche.
Yeah.
It's on the back of my shirt right now.
Yeah, cool.
And it's something that I live by, because you need to find a why. And when you're in a situation like that, when you're in a program like that, you have to, when you get that glimpse of a vision of a better life or the adventure you can go on, hold on to that with everything you have. Let that be the thing that pulls you out of darkness, that higher ideal, whether it's God, whether it's a vision for a better life, whether it's wanting to mend relationships with your family, whether it's something you want to bring to the world that has not already been done or brought forth. That will pull you out, and it'll help you face those moments of how, those circumstances, even the corruption in certain programs, even the shady nature of we're taking your parents' money and it's really unstructured program. Even the moments where other students are assaulting students and staff. That will get you through your dark night of the soul.
Yes, absolutely. That why and that inspiration. And so again, like I really like to focus on that. Kind of like I said earlier, I tend to be like an eternal optimist, a rose-colored glasses kind of guy. But that inspiration will serve you so much more powerfully than anything else. That is like the call to adventure. Again, if you want to look at it in a secular way, fine. But again, I choose to believe that is God reaching out and touching you out of love, and that's why it's so powerful. So anyway, I think the saddest piece about that again I saw so much is that so many of my own clients and young men that I worked with refused the inspiration, refused it. And there were many reasons for that. I'm sure that there's many reasons for that. A lot of them being early childhood trauma. I worked with a lot of, we talked a little bit about attachment theory and reactive attachment disorder. I worked with a lot of reactively attached kids, attachment disordered teens. And that reactive attachment disorder establishes itself like very early on, so it's early childhood stuff that happens. And still you have a choice to choose to be inspired. So choose it. But many of the youth I worked with would not choose that. They refused to be inspired, and they refused that inspiration persistently. And again, I'm not saying that makes them bad people. All I'm saying is that it made them ineffective in achieving their own goals. And those were the types of clients that I would say you and I are talking about, who don't want to be helped, but get themselves into situations where they are now compelled to be helped because of because of poor decisions. And I want to build up that side of the youth treatment industry, because we don't hear about that a lot. We hear it mostly in current modern media, more of the kind of victim presentation. I wasn't being that bad, or I was a little angel at home. Just the same presentation that I saw like day one. So why are you here? I don't know, man. Like I don't know. I don't know why I'm here. It's like, okay, and we hear so much of programs were bad and exploited that through victimization, and not enough of this young man suffered a tremendous loss of the death of his old life, and he picked himself up and made something wonderful out of his experience, made something truly inspiring out of his experience. And I saw that, me personally, maybe it's just that I worked for good programs. Okay. Again, shout out to Redcliffe Ascent and Star Guides Wilderness. I saw that most of my career. I did not see like the abusive program. Oh, and Aravaca Boys Ranch, which I worked at for like a little bit. I did not see the madness that is in current media. For example, the Netflix documentaries, The Program and Hell Camp. Have you seen these?
No.
They're two documentaries that people can watch that just destroy the youth treatment industry because they highlight the worst of the worst.
Oh, of course, because that's what won't get views on Netflix. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And say that, oh, this is the whole industry. These are the worst programs that existed. This is what the whole industry is like. It's like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the guy who made the program that highlighted that series of programs, that guy, his whole empire imploded, but he took the money and bounced. So and that was 30 years ago.
Right. So
the legislation that's coming down is like, well, I mean, guys are a little behind, the industry is very much corrected itself, and there's plenty of good programs out there. I suppose we come back to that question that you had earlier, though, of as a parent, how do you know? And I'd love to get into that a little bit more, but it seems like you got something on your mind you want to say. Anything you want to?
Let's get into that. I just want to. I had an aha moment.
Yeah.
Where the question we've been asking.
Yeah.
How do you help someone who does not want help or does not want to be changed?
Yeah.
And when you're talking about the radical attachment,
reactive attachment disorder,
attachment disorder, right? Yeah. When you're talking about that, a different question comes to mind, which is maybe a better way of framing it. How do you help someone change who doesn't believe that they deserve a better life?
Yeah.
Right? Because people might want help.
Yeah.
But again, it's that shutting out of any inspiration, any shred of hope.
Yes.
Because maybe something happened in the past.
Yeah.
And they don't believe that they deserve a better life.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most painful part.
Yeah.
Because it's not that they don't want to change. I'm sure if you took a look at them deep down on a soul level, that's all they want is a better life.
Yeah.
And yet they don't believe they deserve it.
Yeah.
That hurts to think about.
That is a difficult question to answer. I may get crucified for like saying things to answer that, but I'm gonna dive right into it, man. Okay, so let's get into kind of some practical tools for that situation. There are a couple of guys, William Miller, Stephen Rolnick, something like that. They came up with an evidence-based treatment modality called motivational interviewing. You heard of motivational interviewing?
Only when you mentioned it to me at lunch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Before that, I had never heard of it.
Yeah. No, motivational interviewing. Okay. So to any parent, any therapist who hasn't heard of this, which is probably not many therapists, it's very popular, and it's a great approach to working with people who don't want to be helped. There's kind of 4 kind of steps to it, but any parent listening can look up motivational interviewing, and it's not just for therapists. This is like, how do you interact with people who don't want help? What's the best, most evidence-based way to help them? And so look up motivational interviewing and do what Miller and Rolnick say, which is step 1 is empathy, genuine empathy. And again, motivational interviewing, this is why I'm not super crazy about any one modality of therapy, because they all overlap so much. You can also look at like the Love and Logic guys, like I forget what their names are, but they've got, 5 steps of how to talk to your child. There's lots of 4 steps and 5 steps and stuff, but to keep it simple, we'll just focus on motivational interviewing. So step 1 is like real empathy. Okay. Like, see where your child is coming from, see where your client is coming, see where your friend is coming from, extend that sense of, I don't know what to say, but I'm glad you're telling me and I love you. You know, I'm here feeling with you. And you don't have to, the beautiful thing about that is that you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
You just have to be present and feel with. Okay. It's tough because you have to access something within your own mind that's a similar experience. But I'm telling you, especially if you're a parent, don't share the experience. Don't start talking about, oh, well, the same thing happened to me. Just sit there and feel with and let them know somehow I understand. Okay. So that's empathy. Step 2, develop discernment. So that means work with the person that you're talking with to establish this understanding of their behaviors and their goals, you know? Like, for example, we'll talk about youth treatment. I worked so many with youth who are like, I just got to get out of here. I got to get out of this program. I can't handle it. I got to get out of here. And it's like, okay, well, you know, like sneaking in contraband, which, you know, you saw, like there was some of that, you know, some, not a little of that, and not minor things, not minor contraband, but like serious contraband. So it's like sneaking in contraband and graduating from the program. Like if your goal is to get out of here, like these two things don't really match up. But you don't say it like that, like I just said it. You use open-ended questions like, well, how do you want to accomplish your goals in light of what you're doing right now? You know, like how do those things line up? And that's a genuine open-ended question. Okay, open-ended questions. Step 3, roll with resistance. So when they get pissed or resist, or, you know, it's like people who come to you for help and they're like, well, you know, like, what am I doing wrong? And you're like, well, you could work on that. Oh, that's not true. You know? So when they give you resistance, just roll with it. Don't fight them. Just be like, yeah, okay. I mean, I can see how you see it that way. I don't see it that way. We've still got some discernment, but listen, man, like, it's all right. Like, what are your goals? And let's keep, you know, shooting towards what your goals are.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, oh, come on. Empathy, develop discernment, roll with resistance, support self-efficacy. You know what self-efficacy is?
Like, I've heard the word.
So specifically, it refers to your belief in your own competence. Like, okay. It's not like self-esteem is like, I believe that I have value, that I'm worthy. Yeah. Self-efficacy is like, I believe, I know that I can, you know, play basketball. I'm good. Like it's acknowledging your skills and abilities. Okay. You know, so those are the 4 steps, like the 4 basics. Like there's lots more to motivational interviewing than that, but those are just kind of like some basics. People can look up more and like check it out a little bit more if they want to. So that's kind of some practical steps for people, for parents, for, you know, mental health professionals, of course, and for friends. Like, yeah, of course, as a parent and a friend, you're not a therapist, but, you know, like, why not learn like some skills, like asking open-ended questions and having empathy? Like, it's not like therapists are the only ones who can do that. So anyway, so that's one thing. Come on, help me circle back around to what started that conversation.
So we were talking about not people who don't want to be helped, people who believe they don't deserve help or change, yes. Right?
Yeah.
Which might be at the root of not people who don't want to be helped or changed. Right?
Yeah.
That belief that, like, maybe I don't deserve that.
Yeah. So again, the things that I may say that are a little controversial are that you're getting into a very deep realm of the human being, like the human soul, the human spirit, the human personality. Okay. And you're talking about beliefs and desires, and those things are difficult to understand and tease out. And I think often we identify this kind of reality of like, I don't believe in myself. I don't believe that I actually deserve anything good, you know? And so I would say, Okay, I mean, perhaps we can step into just good old cognitive behavioral therapy. Recognize beliefs that are not helpful for you and that are untrue. It's difficult because part of the belief is true, right? Like the,
In what sense?
in what in the sense of,
Okay, can I take a shot at this?
yeah,
If you've lived your life harming others,
yes,
you are giving evidence to the world and yourself that you are a harmful person
yeah,
who does not deserve a better life, because
yeah,
it's a punishment in a sense. And so again, you're holding these two contradicting things.
yes,
Well, I deserve help, but also I've caused so much harm, and people who cause harm
yeah,
don't deserve good things. Like
yeah,
that's the system. Where
yeah.
is that kind of what
Yes,
you're talking about here?
absolutely. You know, so a lot of times this idea of I don't deserve, that elicits a sympathetic response from others. Like it elicits this sympathetic response from parents. It's like, oh no, like oh sweetheart, you know, you deserve everything. And I've got, maybe this is my own stuff, but I've got real issues with the word deserve. What do you mean by that? Deserve. Like, who deserves anything? What do you deserve? I'll go back to Gandalf. It's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him when he had the chance. Some who deserve life receive death, and some who deserve death receive life. Can you give it to them? So it's like the idea of deserving is not a helpful idea. It's not helpful. It's not helpful to have like inside, like this idea of I deserve at all. What do you do? Do you deserve good? Oh yes, you know you're a child of God. You deserve good. But do you deserve bad? You're a criminal. You're a harmful person. You deserve bad. So the idea of deserve is not helpful. I would say try and check yourself when you're saying deserve. Okay, so that idea of I don't believe that I deserve anything, you know, what parts of it are true? I don't even know if it's helpful to ask that question. It's helpful to say, like, asking that question or saying that belief of I don't deserve anything is not a helpful statement, because the idea of deserving is just a false, misleading idea,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So
you could replace that word deserve with, instead of I deserve a better life, I'm worthy of a better life. Does that change it at all?
That's another, for me, that's another sticky, another kind of sticky road.
Right.
Worth, yeah. I mean, it's a little bit better, I would say,
right,
but it's marginally better.
So I want to actually challenge that for a second.
Okay.
I think when we're looking at it from the view of like hearing someone who's in an awful situation say something like that, use those words deserve and worthy, and it's coming from a place of maybe a belief that they get whatever they want and that the world ought to show up for them in a certain way.
Yeah.
That isn't a healthy way to look at the world. But from a deserve or worth standpoint, that I am made in the image of God.
Yes.
Right.
Okay,
That, when we're coming from that place, I am made in the image of God. Yeah. Therefore, as a soul in this world, I am worthy of God's love and like His divine presence in my life.
Yes.
That's a very different way of looking at it. So you see, that's the distinction I want to make here real quick, because I think it's not as much of a self-centered way of looking at those words.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's exactly right. Like there's this, you know, I'm LDS. So there's this LDS children's song, I am a child of God. Okay. And that line establishes divine worth in you. And so yes, if that's where you're going, then let's go there. And if it's, I need the world to show up for me in a certain way, which unfortunately I kind of feel is often the default.
Yes.
You know,
for sure.
Then it's like, no, we're not, particularly with people who, as we've been talking earlier, don't want help. One of the reasons they struggle and are compelled to go on the adventure is because they demand that the world shows up for them in that way. And their statement of "I am worthy" is a statement of people need to bow to me and the world needs to accommodate my needs. And it's like, sorry, like it's just not going to happen. It's not a helpful way to view the world. I have a spark of the divine that gives me inherent value. Like I'm important because I'm valuable because of this. That's a different story.
Right.
You know? And so what do? You try and nudge people, gently bring them into the place where you can inspire them with that thought. You have the spark of the divine in you. You do have inherent value. And I think that that's very hard to do from a secular perspective.
Totally.
You know, which is, again, like as a therapist, I find myself in a bind because I want and am somewhat responsible to serve a secular population. I can't just, I don't want to be just like, I'm only seeing religious people so that we can talk about God and how we're children of God and feel good about ourselves that way,
right.
You know? But it's very hard to establish that sense of innate worth and value with someone who is coming at life from a secular perspective. Like, why do you have value? We're just specks flying through the universe on a rock and nothing matters. So I think that kind of the popular nihilism that we see, again, that is not new to today. We act like it's like, oh, Gen Z, you know, but it's like, no, we've always had like a lot of nihilism, but the very popular nihilism that we see today, I don't see as very helpful because it's like, crap, like how do I establish people's inherent worth without the divine? It's difficult. I wouldn't say it's impossible. I don't know. You got any ideas?
I'd say the logotherapy Frankel work is the closest I found from like a secular psychology lens that gives someone that, because I think it empowers them to search for meaning in places that may not be through religion and God, but still to look for any shred of meaning that they can, even when it comes in the form of suffering.
Yeah.
That idea shell that I talk about in the name of the podcast, it's the idea that there is the divine light in everything. It may just be concealed.
Yeah. When
Viktor Frankl says that meaning can be found in meaningful work, meaningful love, but when necessary, in meaningful suffering.
Yeah.
Right. That is that same concept of, and you're not using words like divine light, but you're finding this meaning that's hidden beneath your suffering. And it's the same concept. Another idea that he discusses is the one where in every moment of life, there's something that we're called to do. Life is asking something of us. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be here. And that's not the way that the world works. So we live in a universe that is constantly expanding. We live in, and this, you can get it through a scientific lens. You can approach this, right? We live in a world that is constantly evolving. And so are you going to be part of that unfolding evolution? Are you going to find your place within it? Yeah. Are you going to find not just meaning through your pain and suffering, but also purpose? And when we talk about whether you're deserving of good things or not, that may be, you may feel that that's your right, but how are you showing up in your responsibilities, right? How are you contributing to that greater order, that greater meaning, that unfolding and evolution of everything that is? Again, the mission that I have with this podcast, you hear the name of the show, you have this religious idea, you have these secular ideas in psychology. Let's find the meeting point between the two, because language is so limiting. There's so many ways that God works in the world that can be explained through the means of science. It can be explained through philosophy, and yet we use different language to talk about the same thing. So can we find the underlying meaning and the overlap and work around that barrier of language of God? And that would allow you, a therapist, to approach it
Yeah.
without talking about your religion, but
Yeah.
still hitting on the same point, still
Yeah.
achieving the same goal in that person's heart that you're speaking to.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang, man. That's very good. Oh, thank you, man. We should. I'm going to put that into my sessions now.
Love
No,
it.
that's very good, Yehuda. That's very good. Connect with a sense of meaning, something that gets you beyond kind of your own limited perspective, your own limited personal bubble.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, man. That's good. So, okay, maybe, gosh dang, man, like I hate to do this, but we probably better move towards wrapping up. You know?
It is. I don't even know how long we've been going. I think we've been an hour and 45 minutes.
Sweet.
At this point, which is just so you know, you broke the record. This is the longest podcast I've done.
Oh, jeez, man.
But it was
like
well deserved.
Yeah, like I love this stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Like, well, I okay, so perhaps just a tip for parents.
Yeah.
And one thing that I like about your podcast is everything I've heard I can listen to with my kids. Okay. That may be something to keep in mind, but and we did cover some heavy topics a bit. We didn't get very deeply into them, but we did touch on heavy topics like, you know, early childhood sexual trauma, things like that.
Yeah.
But I one of the things that I really want to encourage parents to do is to listen to this kind of stuff with your kids and talk about it with your kids. And it's not going to go perfectly. You know, I grew up, one of the reasons I am the way I am is because these were my family discussions around the dinner table. Like we talked about this stuff. And I think that we're a pretty unique family. Like I have to express like overwhelming gratitude for my parents. Like anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can share that.
Oh yeah. They're just like, unbelievable people. Like, yeah, they're just, yeah. So I'm very grateful for, the family setup that they set up for me. We would have these are the types of discussions that we'd have around our dinner table, and so I try and do the same thing for my own kids, and certainly it doesn't go perfectly because, you know, you've got to get through the burp and fart jokes, you know, a lot. Like that's but to the parents, like try and discuss this kind of stuff like with your kids, this sense of divine worth. Yeah. And if you do that, if you try and do that regularly, some of it will trickle through. And you may not think that it is, but see, you, Yehuda, are seeing your own life play out 6 years prior to when we met, and you recognize the things that your parents said and did, and the things that you experienced at the program that we met at that trickled through. You know, that it's not likely that your parents know, like, oh, it was this one thing or that one thing, you know? So I encourage parents to do your best to like try and, you know, going through bedtime routine or having family dinner or, you know, picking the kids up from school or whatever, like do your best to try and have these types of conversations or any conversation at all with your children. I would love to just kind of like summarize what we've done and then kind of wrap up. Totally. So what points can we touch on to leave our listeners with that can summarize this episode in a nice little perfect little package?
Yeah, it's a difficult task. I think one theme that comes up across all these conversations is that you have to be willing to hold the light and the dark. If you're making a decision to send your kid somewhere, you have to be able to hold the positive intention and also the selfish reasons that may be motivating you to do this. And that's okay. Yeah. But to acknowledge both will make that whole process healthier for you and your kid. Yeah. I think that's one. And I think that shows up for the therapist who may be treating this kid and the person themselves, is to be able to hold both of those for someone like that can be incredibly healing.
Yeah.
That's just one theme I see.
Absolutely. No, that's a really good summary of what we discussed. Yeah. And yeah, so we touched on parents struggling through a decision about whether or not to send their child to therapy. Gather your information, check your motive, take accountability for your motive, and then make a confident decision. And believe in yourself. Trust your instincts.
Yeah.
You know, with all the information you've gathered and the motive that you've checked and the instincts that you have, trust your instincts. And if that is to, you know, let's have our kid, you know, try outpatient therapy for another couple of months and see if something changed, and you know, like get on a sports team or something, you know, let's try that first. Then good decision. And if the decision is we cannot manage this chaos anymore, we need to send them outside of the home to you know, and a day treatment program, a short-term residential, a long-term residential, or a wilderness program, then trust your instincts on that one, and believe in yourself and believe that it will be all right.
Yeah, I think another theme is how do we empower youth in this situation where everything feels taken from them. And the two ideas we touched on was the hero's journey, and looking for what is in your control, what freedoms still remain no matter what. And I think those two themes really come to mind. Saying yes, that call to adventure. It's hard to look at it that way, but being able to say yes to that. And then at the same time, realizing that ability to say yes, the ability to reframe your experience as yes, that is what remains in your control.
Yes. And in the worst of situations, in Frankel's situation, you still have the power to do that. That is empowering. Jeez, dude.
Amazing, man.
Thanks a lot.
I want to just end with one more thing, just to leave people with. I think it's important to touch on when I was in a situation where I may not have believed that I had that worth, that divine image of God within me. It took people around me, it took mentors to show me that and hold up the mirror for me when I couldn't see it myself. So I just want to say thank you for being able to do that for me when I needed it. I think back to a memory. I think we went to Bryce Canyon or something, and you led us through this mindfulness technique, if I'm correct, where you had us look at the furthest point we could see, and find it, and then slowly draw our awareness back to the spot that we were in. And that was a moment where my mind went was, I'm connected to not only that far point, but even further beyond it, right? To that which is infinite. And so just thank you, man, for doing that for me. It's really, again, I said this to you earlier, it's a blessing and a miracle that I get to sit here and have this conversation with you, not only on the other side of the most challenging point in my life, but also getting to fulfill that obligation, that responsibility to help others through it, and do it by your side right here in this conversation, and help the person that may be listening that needs it most. So I really appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on.
It's been so good. It was a pleasure speaking with you. It was a pleasure working with you in those days. It was my privilege. Thanks.
Yeah. And I always end off by saying that, you know, the intention and the goal behind this podcast is maybe it's not to reach millions of people, and that would be great, but it's to reach the one person that needs it most. And from my Jewish tradition, there's the idea that if you change one person's life, it's as if you've changed the world in its entirety. So I hope we do just that. Thanks for listening.
Cool.